You are just a punk kid. I want to speak to a grown-up. All grown-ups are pirates.
He'll crow, he'll fight, he'll fly, and then he'll die.
This is the biggest feeling I've ever had, and this is the first time I've been big enough to have it.
Hook from 1991 took audiences back to Neverland like never before. With an adult Peter Pan, a swaggering Captain Hook,
You won't believe this, but I found my happy thought.
and Steven Spielberg's mix of spectacle and sentiment. Packed with stars, lavish sets, and larger-than-life performances, it became a nostalgic favorite. But behind the swashbuckling and fairy dust, the production was filled with strange choices, hidden cameos, and chaos fans might not know. Here are 20 weird facts you didn't know about Hook. Number 1. Steven Spielberg began production years before the movie actually happened. Long before Hook hit theaters, Steven Spielberg was already deep into developing a new Peter Pan project. Only it wasn't for Sony, and it wasn't the Hook we know today.
I've told you he can't do those things. He can't even play simple games. Hook has got his kids, and I've got 3 days.
In the early 1980s, Spielberg was working with Disney on a live-action version that would stay closely aligned with the studio's 1953 animated classic. He even envisioned it as a full-fledged musical and considered none other than Michael Jackson for the role of Peter Pan. While Jackson was intrigued by the idea of working with Spielberg, he wasn't interested in the grown-up take on the character, preferring a more traditional version. With Jackson out and Disney losing interest, the project stalled. Years later, Spielberg returned to the idea with a new concept, an adult Peter returning to Neverland, which eventually evolved into the Hook we know today. Number 2. It almost got started, then stalled again. After Disney's version of the new Peter Pan fell through, the project found a new home at Paramount in 1985, and momentum began building fast. Dustin Hoffman was cast as Captain Hook, and pre-production was underway. Sets were being designed, and the studio was eager to move forward. But just as things seemed ready to launch, Spielberg's personal life took a turn, in the best way possible. His first son Max was born, and Spielberg decided he wanted to be home to experience fatherhood rather than spend months away on location. He stepped away from the production, halting its progress. For a time, there was hope he might return, but by 1987, Spielberg had officially abandoned the project entirely. It would take several more years and a completely fresh approach before Hook would finally set sail for Neverland. Number 3. A new director was hired. When Steven Spielberg stepped away from the project in the late 80s, the studio didn't scrap Hook. They simply looked for someone else to steer the ship. Their choice was Nick Castle, a name horror fans know well as the man behind Michael Myers' mask in John Carpenter's Halloween. But Castle wasn't just an actor. By this time, he had already transitioned into directing, with credits including The Last Starfighter and Tap. Castle's version of Hook would have been quite different, focusing more on a straightforward Peter Pan adventure rather than the adult returning to Neverland concept.
You know you're not really Peter Pan, don't you? This is only a dream. When you wake up, you'll just be Peter Panning.
Spielberg had envisioned. Pre-production began under Castle's direction, but as the project continued to evolve, creative differences emerged, and his vision never made it to the screen. Eventually, the opportunity for Spielberg to return opened up, and that's when Hook truly began to take the shape we know today. Number 4. Spielberg wanted a certain actor for Peter Pan. After the Michael Jackson musical version fell apart, Steven Spielberg still had a clear vision for his grown-up Peter Pan, and he wanted Tom Hanks in the role. Hanks was fresh off a string of hits and had the charm and warmth Spielberg thought would be perfect for an adult Peter rediscovering his past. When Spielberg stepped away from the Peter Pan project, he even considered directing Big, which would later become one of Hanks's defining roles.
There's a million robots that turn into something. And this is a building that turned into a robot. What's fun about playing with a building? That's not any fun.
By the time Hook was moving forward again, director Nick Castle was in charge, and it was under his watch that Robin Williams was cast as Peter Banning. When Spielberg eventually returned to direct, Williams stayed on, bringing his boundless energy and quick wit to the role in a way no one else could. If you're enjoying this so far, hit that like button and subscribe for more awesome movie facts. and tell us in the comments, what movie brings you the most nostalgia and which one should we cover next? Number 5. It changed production studios again. By 1989, Hook had already bounced between Disney and Paramount, but the game of studio musical chairs wasn't over yet. The project shifted to TriStar Pictures, and it was during this move that it officially got the title Hook. At the time, Nick Castle was still set to direct, with Dustin Hoffman locked in as Captain Hook and Robin Williams on board as Peter Banning. But behind the scenes, both actors had growing creative issues with Castle's approach. Enter Mike Medavoy, the head of TriStar, and, in a twist of fate, Spielberg's very first agent. Medavoy saw an opportunity to reunite Spielberg with the project and stepped in to make it happen. With Castle out and Spielberg back in the director's chair, Hook was finally positioned to become the lavish, star-studded fantasy that would sail into theaters in 1991. Number 6. A few other actors were considered for Hook. Dustin Hoffman was cast as Captain Hook early in the film's development, but he wasn't the only big name in the running. Before locking in Hoffman, the studio and filmmakers considered several other intriguing possibilities for the role. Christopher Lloyd, fresh off his success as Doc Brown in Back to the Future, was one option. Donald Sutherland, known for his commanding presence and versatility, was another. And in one of the most fascinating what-ifs, David Bowie was also on the shortlist, which could have brought a rock star edge to the infamous pirate. Ultimately, Hoffman's mix of theatrical gravitas and sly humor won out.
Maggie, before you were born, they were happier.
Giving audiences a Hook who was both menacing and delightfully over the top, perfect for Spielberg's swashbuckling vision of Neverland. Number 7. An audition led to a future role. Before becoming one of the lucky kids to survive Jurassic Park, Joseph Mazzello tried out for a trip to Neverland. He auditioned for the role of Jack, Peter's son, in Hook.
Mom sang that song.
Spielberg liked his performance, but felt Mazzello was simply too young for the part, which ultimately went to Charlie Korsmo. Even so, the audition clearly stuck in Spielberg's mind. Just a couple of years later, when casting Jurassic Park, Spielberg remembered Mazzello and brought him in to play Tim Murphy, the dinosaur-obsessed grandson of John Hammond. It became one of Mazzello's most memorable roles, introducing him to millions of moviegoers worldwide.
Keep low and follow me.
Look, it's blood.
Sometimes the right role just comes along at the right time, and in Mazzello's case, one missed opportunity in Neverland led straight to an adventure in prehistoric danger. Number 8. Spielberg really related to the movie. Father-son dynamics have been woven into Steven Spielberg's films from the very start. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and E.T. all touch on strained or complicated family bonds. Hook was no exception, but this time the theme struck a deeply personal chord. Spielberg has openly said he's always felt like Peter Pan, holding on to a childlike sense of wonder despite his success. But he also connected to the more sobering side of Peter Banning's story, being so consumed by professional ambitions that it strains his relationship with his children. At the time, Spielberg was balancing his booming career with raising a young family, making the film's message about rediscovering what truly matters resonate on a much more intimate level for him. In many ways, Hook was Spielberg telling a story he was living himself. Number 9. There are a lot of cameos in the movie. Hook is packed with more familiar faces than many viewers realize, thanks to Steven Spielberg calling in plenty of favors from friends and fellow celebrities. Glenn Close appears in heavy makeup as the bearded pirate Gutless, who meets a grim fate in the Boo Box.
The boo box. The boo box.
Music legends David Crosby and Jimmy Buffett both show up as members of Hook's crew, blending in among the rowdy background pirates. And in a blink and you'll miss it moment, George Lucas himself pops up for a brief cameo, joined by E.T. star Carrie Fisher as a couple sharing a romantic moment on a bridge when Tinkerbell flies past. These small appearances add an extra layer of fun for sharp-eyed viewers, turning Neverland into a secret playground for Spielberg's friends and longtime collaborators. Number 10. Julia Roberts apparently wasn't a fun hang. In the early 90s, Julia Roberts was at the height of her America's Sweetheart fame, fresh off hits like Pretty Woman. But her time on Hook earned her a very different nickname from the crew. Tinker Hell. Roberts, who played Tinker Bell, reportedly clashed with people on set and was difficult to work with. Part of the tension may have stemmed from her personal life at the time. She was dealing with intense tabloid attention and a highly publicized breakup. Steven Spielberg has even admitted in interviews that it was hard to work with her during the shoot, saying he doesn't think she was really herself then, while Roberts' performance as the feisty, devoted Tinkerbell remains memorable.
That's why I'll always love you, Peter Pan.
The behind-the-scenes drama left a lasting impression on those who worked alongside her in Neverland. Number 11, Hoffman has a second role as well. Dustin Hoffman's over-the-top performance as Captain Hook is one of Hook's defining features, but he didn't stop at just one role. Hoffman also provided an uncredited voice cameo early in the film. When the Bannings are flying to England, the plane's intercom crackles to life with the words, "This is your captain speaking." That voice, none other than Hoffman himself.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, your captain once again. Please do not allow this minor turbulence to disturb.
It's a small Easter egg that many fans miss, hidden in plain sight before Hook even appears on screen. The sly addition is a perfect example of Spielberg and Hoffman having fun with the production, slipping in little surprises for attentive viewers to catch, proving Hoffman's influence on the film extended beyond his swashbuckling scenes. Number 12, we got a brief look at a future star. In Hook, Wendy Darling is mostly portrayed by Maggie Smith, who was just 56 at the time but wore extensive makeup to appear as a 92-year-old. Smith brought warmth and wisdom to the role, anchoring Peter's connection to his past.
How far back can you remember, Peter?
I remember the hospital on Great Ormond Street.
But in one brief flashback, we meet a much younger Wendy, and that's where a future star steps in. The teenage version is played by Gwyneth Paltrow. Then at the very start of her career, this was only her second film appearance, following in the footsteps of her parents, actress Blythe Danner and producer Bruce Paltrow. While it's just a quick scene, her presence adds an extra layer of curiosity for modern audiences, knowing she would go on to win an Oscar and become one of Hollywood's most recognizable leading ladies. Number 13, production wasn't smooth. For all its magic on screen, making Hook was anything but a fairy tale behind the scenes. The production was originally budgeted at $48 million, but that number quickly became unrealistic. Elaborate sets, long shooting days, and the sheer scale of Neverland pushed costs higher and higher. By the time filming wrapped, the budget had ballooned to somewhere between $60 million and $80 million, massive for the early 90s. Adding to the strain, the shoot ran a staggering 40 days over schedule. Spielberg later admitted that the extended timeline sapped some of his enthusiasm, making the production process feel exhausting. Still, the extra time and money gave Hook its lavish sets and sprawling visual style, even if it came with plenty of headaches for those making it. Number 14. It still made plenty of money, though. Despite its inflated budget and behind-the-scenes headaches, Hook proved to be a financial success. Released in December 1991, it rode strong holiday box office numbers to earn over $119 million in the United States and more than $300 million worldwide. While critics were divided on the film, some praising its performances and production design, others calling it overlong, audiences, especially families, embraced it.
I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in you, Peter.
The movie's mix of nostalgia, adventure, and star power kept theaters busy well into the new year. Over time, home video sales and TV airings only boosted its popularity, cementing Hook as a cult favorite for multiple generations. For a film that went so far over budget, it still managed to turn Neverland into a profitable trip for the studio. Number 15. Hook received a few Oscar nominations. While Hook didn't win over all the critics, it still earned recognition from the Academy. The film received 5 Oscar nominations, highlighting its impressive craftsmanship. It was nominated for Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design, Best Makeup, Best Original Song for John Williams' When You're Alone, and Best Visual Effects.
In Hook, a grown-up Peter Pan is able to fly again thanks to the wizardry.
The nominations reflected the film's lavish sets, creative world building, and strong technical achievements, even if the story itself divided audiences.
I'll show you who's chicken. Watch this!
Unfortunately, Hook didn't take home any trophies that night, but the recognition solidified its status as a visually stunning production, one that still dazzles viewers decades later with its elaborate design and larger-than-life presentation. Number 16. Critics despised it. While Hook holds a special place in the hearts of many 90s kids, critics were far less enchanted. The film sits at just 29% on Rotten Tomatoes, reflecting overwhelmingly mixed to negative reviews at the time of its release. Roger Ebert famously panned it, calling it overstuffed and lacking the magic it promised. In a bit of ironic hindsight, Peter Travers of Rolling Stone claimed the movie would only appeal to the baby boomer generation, missing the fact that millennials would go on to champion it as a nostalgic favorite decades later.
Oh, there you are, Peter.
For Spielberg, the lukewarm critical reception was a disappointment, but the enduring fan love has arguably done more to cement Hook's legacy than any review ever could. Number 17. You know who else didn't like it? Spielberg. Fans may treasure Hook, but its own director has been one of its harshest critics. Steven Spielberg has openly expressed disappointment with the film over the years, saying he felt like a fish out of water during production and that he didn't have confidence in the script. Despite the elaborate sets and star-studded cast, he never felt the movie fully came together the way he envisioned. In a 2013 interview, Spielberg summed up his feelings with surprising candor. I want to see Hook again because I so don't like that movie, and I'm hoping someday I'll see it again and perhaps like some of it.
You silly ass, go.
It's a rare case of a filmmaker distancing himself from a film beloved by fans, proving that even Spielberg isn't immune to self-criticism. Number 18. Hook is Spielberg's first Razzie nomination. Steven Spielberg is one of the most celebrated filmmakers in cinema history, with a shelf full of Oscars, Golden Globes, and countless other awards. But Hook brought him a very different kind of recognition, his first ever Golden Raspberry Award nomination. The Razzies, infamous for honoring the worst in film, nominated Spielberg for Worst Director in 1992. The nomination reflected how sharply critics were divided over the movie at the time. While audiences, particularly kids and families, flocked to see it, many reviewers felt it was bloated, messy, or lacking Spielberg's usual magic. Spielberg didn't win the Razzie, but the fact that he was even nominated stood out in a career otherwise defined by critical praise. Over the years, the sting of that moment has faded, replaced by Hook's enduring cult status and the passionate fan base that still celebrates it, Razzies or not. Number 19. Hook was originally a musical. Long before it became the swashbuckling fantasy we know,
No! The old man is mine.
Jack! Save me!
Hook was envisioned as a full-blown musical. Steven Spielberg initially wanted the film to feature original songs woven throughout the story, with John Williams composing the score and lyricist Leslie Bricusse writing the lyrics. Several songs were even written, including numbers for Peter, Tinker Bell, and Captain Hook. But as the script evolved into a more action-focused story, most of the musical elements were dropped. Only traces remain in the final film, like When You're Alone, which survived as a single song and went on to earn an Academy Award nomination. It's a fascinating what if that could have made Hook a very different and possibly even more whimsical adventure. Number 20. The mysterious floating couple is well known. Hook is full of blink and you'll miss it cameos, but one of the most charming is tucked into Peter's magical return to Neverland. As Tinkerbell flies an adult Peter across London, her pixie dust sprinkles down onto a couple standing on a bridge. The dust lifts them into the air in a romantic, magical moment, but in the wide shot, their faces are almost impossible to see. Look closer though, and you'll discover they're not just random extras. The floating couple is actually Star Wars creator George Lucas and actress Carrie Fisher, best known as Princess Leia. Spielberg slipped them into the scene as a fun Easter egg for friends and sharp-eyed fans alike, making it one of the most delightful hidden surprises in the entire film. And that's our list of 20 weird facts about Hook.
An epiphany.
Epiphany what?
My life is over.
From hidden cameos to abandoned musical numbers, this trip to Neverland was as wild behind the scenes as it was on screen. Love it or hate it, Hook remains one of the most memorable and magical adventures of the 90s.